If you grew up in an African home, this is something you can relate to. At least once in your growing up experience, this happened to you, where your dad or your mom will call you and say, go to the room. In the left drawer, bring my red pen or something like that. And you went there, you checked, and you came back and said, Daddy, I did not see it. And it says, go and check very well. It is there. And you went and checked, and you did not see it. Or let me give you one that is more relatable. Your mom said, go and check my bag. I was waiting for that response because that's something we dread. You see that bag? It's like the bottomless pit. You can put 3 planets in there. And when you're checking, you just put things aside. Microwave, oven, you just... And they will ask you to bring something as small as rub. You know that small rub? Oh, Jesus. When that thing is missing, hey, my God. So you check. Mommy, I didn't see it. Go and check very well, it's there. Then when you still don't see it, you will now hear something like, if I go and check... If I go and check myself and I see that thing, you will be in trouble. And then with confidence, you'll be like, go and check, it's not there. The moment she dips her hand once like this. The reason I'm saying this is when it comes to the gospel, many times a lot of atheists and agnostics make excuses for the first Adam. If God knew that Adam will eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then why did he put Adam in the garden? And what kind of parent will actually put his son in a garden that has a serpent? Before I talk about how invalid that argument is, bear in mind that what you were complaining about, God said, okay, you don't want to do it, I'll do it myself. And he came in the person of Jesus and did it. Come on, are you getting what I'm saying? That's very important. You see, we're coming back to this text. Why then did God allow Adam to be in a garden that had a serpent? Or in a garden that had the tree of knowledge of good and evil? And if God is all-knowing and he is, why then did he still allow Adam go through that test? I want to start with that. First and foremost, this is very important. Someone is going to ask you one day. There is a difference between what God knows and what God wills. This is very important, as simple as that is. There is a difference between what God knows and what God wills. Did God know that Adam will eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Yes, he did. Was it his will that Adam would eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? No, it wasn't. So why did God allow it then? It was because for man to become the man that God had destined for him to be, it will not happen without tests. Let me illustrate it this way. Just imagine that a powerful warrior in ancient times had conquered several territories, won many battles, and now he's old. He wants a successor, and he has a son. He wants his son to be a warrior, but he also loves the son. Guess what? Your son cannot be a warrior except he fights. Come on, are you listening to me? So how are you going to create man and give him dominion if there is nothing to dominate? Are you getting what I'm saying? And the reason many of us never thought about this is because we always interpreted the dominion of man only in natural terms. That he was in charge of the garden and of the natural animals. And that's where you are missing it. Part of spiritual dominion is self-control. Let me say something to you. And a lot of people don't realize this. Man had both natural dominion and spiritual dominion. In fact, when God said, have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air, he meant that both in a natural sense and in a spiritual, metaphorical sense. And that's why later in the Bible, you now start seeing serpents being a spiritual metaphor of spirit entities. Let's look at a text you know very well. We know Psalm 91. We grew up quoting it for protection in family devotion. Look at verse 13. Psalm 91 verse 13. It says, you shall tread upon the lion and the cobra. Did he mean it literally? These were metaphors of spirit entities. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent shall you trample underfoot. So listen, when you come to Luke 10:19, and Jesus said, I give you power to trample upon serpents and scorpions. Now, he now gives a more literal explanation. And over all the ability of the enemy. He wasn't talking about natural animals. He says, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. He was drawing a lesson from God's will for mankind in the Old Testament. Come on, are you getting what I'm saying? So part of the dominion of man was to be able to do the will of God in a garden in spite and despite the presence of the serpents. Why should God have to take the serpent out for you to exist? Are you getting what I'm saying? If God created man to be like him and to rule like him, and God is absolutely unbothered about the existence of the devil, there is nothing the devil can do to God. Well, why should you be bothered? The reason why you look at the serpents the way you look at it is because man fell. God created us to be above and above only. Are you getting what I'm saying? So the man that God envisioned was a man that will live in the garden, and it will not be a factor that the serpent is there. And just in case you don't understand that, well, the second Adam, the last Adam, Jesus Christ, came and did everything and crushed the serpent on the head, which is the dominion that humanity is supposed to exercise. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are, part of growing in the will of God is self-control. Part of dominion is not just the things you do, it's the things you don't do. It is not just planting and tending a garden. It is knowing which tree should never be touched. Understand this. God put man in the garden with all those circumstances so that he can learn self-control. And if you don't understand this, understand from the text we just read in Hebrews chapter 5 from verse 8. Though he was the son, talking about the incarnate Son of God. Though he was a son, yet he learned obedience by the things that he suffered. Some things will not come by impartation. Some things will not come by natural spiritual gift and advantage. It will come by learning. God wanted Adam to learn. There are some things that you will only understand by experience.